Welcome back to your live continuing coverage of Toy Fair 2015, the official Toy Fair coverage with the Toy Industry Association on BeTerrific. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. I've got Marty Brochstein here. Marty, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to talk licensing, which I think is so interesting in the space, in toy industry in general. And we're going to talk a little bit about education, specifically licensing for education.
Okay.
And then I want to tell everybody that they can join the conversation by going to our IRC chat. It's beterrific.com/live. Underneath the video player, you can see a IRC chat. You can either join anonymously or create your own login so you can come back often. And the reason why I'm telling people this is I want them to join the conversation. They can ask you a question through me on air. We've been doing that. We've been monitoring it. It's a lot of fun. And I'm telling people because not everybody's watching on BeTerrific. We're syndicated all over the place, including on geekbeat.tv and planet5d.com as well. Sounds great. Yes. So listen, Marty, licensing is a huge thing. And it really is. It's unbelievable. I think, if you go back to, like the 70s, right? Licensing to me wasn't that big then. And you had the licensing companies, especially with like movie products and stuff, they didn't take such a big, they didn't take it seriously so much. And there's a movie called Plastic Galaxies. We're going to have Brian Stillman on at some point. It's a documentary about how Star Wars really changed that game. And that was huge for licensing in the movie industry. But that's not, and that's what people think of when they think of licensing, but that's not the only thing that happens licensing-wise in the toy industry. Oh, licensing is a huge business that people don't even really think about. Right. In the US and Canada in 2013, it represented about $115 billion in retail sales overall, not just for the toy industry, but for the consumer products business overall. The entertainment character segment is about $50-some-odd billion. So it's a huge business that people don't really think of as a unified force. And you're absolutely correct about Star Wars. Star Wars, back when it debuted in '77, represented the birth of the modern movie licensing business. But licensing has been part of the toy industry for a very long time. Sure, you think about anything with a sports team's logo on, or a professional sports team. Absolutely. College, NCAA. A friend of mine, he's going to be here either later today or tomorrow, Handsome Jarrett, we call him. The BeTerrific audience knows him well. They've never seen him on camera, so I'm excited about that. But he was part of a company called Team Baby Entertainment. They made you know Team Baby? Absolutely. They made educational DVDs for kids, teaching them the alphabet and all sorts of things. Licensing, because the kids would wear jerseys of the team, so that my son would learn the alphabet and be a New York Rangers fan. Well, let's think about what licensing is all about. It's all about emotion. It's all about identification. It's about a sense of humor, or there are lots of different motivations, but it's all about connecting emotionally to a particular property. It might be a cartoon character, it might be a sports logo, it might be a fashion designer, it might be a car company. So there are lots of different connection points that you can take advantage of as a marketer. And there's also, like, if I'm an inventor but I don't know how to bring it to market, I can license my toy, my invention, to a creator, a big company like a Mattel or a Hasbro or a Tyco or a Tommy, and they can go out and they can, or Kenner in the case of Star Wars, right? And they can go out and they can create those products off of my idea. Oh, absolutely. And the licensing of inventions to a toy company is a slightly different business. Our association is really involved with trademark licensing. So, but yes, Kenner is a great example from the original Star Wars. They made a huge business. As a matter of fact, that first year, everybody was unprepared for the size of the demand. They actually marketed and distributed empty boxes with IOUs in them the first Christmas with Star Wars figures, because nobody expected any kind of demand. Right, it's so true, and it was an amazing demand, and this is the story. It's an amazing documentary. It's available on iTunes. It's called Plastic Galaxies. Brian Stillman created it. He's going to be on in the next day or so, I think. That's super. I don't know what day. He'll be on to talk about this whole story, but you're right, and I think it changed the industry. Was that the biggest change in licensing in general, or is there something else that really brings licensing to the forefront in like the 70s, 80s? Well, I think what's happened over time is that as marketing has gotten more sophisticated, the licensing business has gotten more sophisticated. The amount of data that's out there that marketers can tie into
is a major factor that the audience can get segmented ever more finely so that the companies can really target their audiences that much better. I don't think it's been a revolutionary change, it's been more of an evolutionary change.
I think what's interesting too is, as you see, like, I think people realize what their license, you know, like if we license BeTerrific, people didn't used to think that their products or their brand name was worth something, and we see branding as the big buzzword everywhere in the last 10 years, and I think that in the last 30 years, people have realized that every brand is worth something.
Right, absolutely. Brands have moved from being just plain brands to becoming leverageable assets. And that's a really major discovery on the part of corporate America. You know, look, think of today's YouTube stars, Bethany Mota, people like that. They are now brands, and they are doing deals with major companies. Bethany Mota had a major program with Aeropostale for an apparel line this year. You have Michelle Phan, who has a big program with L'Oreal. So everything and everybody can become a brand.
How do people find out more about your organization? How do they get involved with your organization?
LIMA, which is the International Licensing Industry Merchandise Association, is a trade association based in New York. We're a global organization of about 1,000 member companies, and they can go to our website, which is www.licensing.org, and get all sorts of information about that.
And you guys have a big show in Vegas, right?
We are the sponsor of the Licensing Expo that's actually each year in June in Las Vegas. It draws approximately 25,000 people to Vegas, and whereas at something like Toy Fair, the products are the stars, when you go to Vegas for Licensing Expo, the properties are the stars, and the product marketers are the ones who are coming to see the properties. It's sort of a reverse.
What do you think is the coolest thing you've seen over the years, or your favorite licensed product?
Oh wow, I don't. Which is your favorite child? I don't think.
Oh, no,
I don't think anybody. I could be, you know. There are categories of things.
Which is the one that surprised you the most, where you were like, really? Wow.
Well, there are surprises happening all the time, and one of the big ones actually currently, Frozen. Everybody knows that Frozen has taken over the business, or took over the business this past year, but what you have to remember is a month before that movie opened in late 2013, nobody knew what it was. This came out of nowhere. Disney didn't know what it had. So there are surprises all the time, and actually the surprises are what makes this business fun for everybody in it.
Right.
Nobody knows anything.
Right. I like that. Nobody knows anything. All right. What was your favorite toy growing up? You had to have something that just was your favorite.
It was a stuffed toy that wasn't even licensed. I hate to admit that. But I had a little dog, little dog called Morgan, and it was a wonderful thing.
Marty Brochstein, thanks so much for coming on. BeTerrific, for joining us for your official Toy Fair coverage 2015 with the Toy Industry Association. I think we got some really great insight and information out of you, and I love to learn about licensing. I just think it's such an interesting topic and conversation. We could talk all day, but unfortunately I know you've got to run. You're busy here. But thank you so much for giving us a few minutes.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's Marty Brochstein. We'll be back with a whole lot more on BeTerrific, your live continuing official Toy Fair 2015 coverage here from the Jacob K. Javits Center in New York City. Don't go anywhere.